make very, very clear, nothing to do with Ecamm or their booth. We are at a conference where everybody is on their phones. They're not looking at you in the face. They're on their phones. But it's okay. We're back. Doc Rock, the amazing person behind Ecamm, has helped us out. So we are excited. We are here with the amazing Colin Gray.
Why, hello.
Yes.
Hello.
And I got to hang out with Colin, what was it, 3 years ago?
Something like that,
in London, which I'd never been for. It was amazing.
Yeah, was that your first trip? Huh?
Yeah,
Good stuff.
yeah, it was.
Yeah.
But
They may even let him go back.
I don't know if I can.
We don't know if we
Maybe.
can
I don't
yet.
know.
We had a whole pandemic to prevent him from that.
Right. Yeah.
So, you know.
But Colin is an amazing podcaster. He's got, he's just a wealth of knowledge, and so we had to have him on the show, especially because we're at Podcast Movement. He spoke a couple times, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
A few times. Yeah, it's
very
been
cool.
good actually. Yeah.
So, Colin, tell people, first of all, where they can find you, your podcast, and also, how you help podcasters out.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the main stuff is over at thepodcasthost.com. That's our site where we write about everything podcasting, from launch to growth to monetization type stuff. So it's loads of content over there. Our podcast is called Podcraft. So that's the one me and Matthew do together. Matthew's part of my team as well, where we do kind of seasons-based how to do podcasting. So we take one topic and break it down into really detailed episodes over seasons. So yeah, that's kind of that's the ones we do.
How did you get started with podcasting? Or how long ago, and then how did you get started?
Yeah, it was about 2007, I believe.
Okay.
Wow.
The early days.
Yeah, the early days,
With the wheel. You had to use the wheel to get your podcast.
Back when it was when you were still transferring files onto MP3 players and stuff like that. It was crazy stuff. I worked at university, actually, so I was a teacher at uni.
Wow.
Telling lecturers and educators how to use tech to teach.
Okay.
And podcasting was this fancy tech that came up in 2007, and I was like, my boss said, "You go and look into this audio thing and find out how it works." And I did, and the rest is history. I fell in love with it and just started writing about the whole medium on our site, and that's what turned into what I do today, really.
What was your first podcast? Was it about a podcast
Podcraft.
about podcasting?
It was funnily enough Podcraft, yeah.
Really?
That's the
So
one.
you've been
yeah.
doing it this long?
Well, that show is, like I say, seasons-based, so we kind of come and go on it, we update it, but it's been going since then, yeah.
That's an interesting strategy, because I've talked a lot about, people get overwhelmed by the whole concept of I can't do, and I've always talked about season, just think about it seasons. So break us down what a season is for you.
Yeah, I mean, I love the format, because it's when you take a question, a problem, an issue that your audience have, you take the most common thing that people ask you, and you go, right, I'm going to cover this over, let's say, 2 or 3 months, which is 8 to 12 episodes week-wise. Break it down. You think how much detail, because I think a lot of podcasters make the mistake of trying to cover too much in every episode.
Right.
And actually, your listeners want you to go really deep on quite specific things.
Yes.
So you take that season, you plan it out. It's so easy to plan because you can sit there for 20 minutes and actually just come up with all these broken down parts of this topic, and then put some meat in those bones as well, a few bullet points. It means you've got the plan. You know what it's like. You sit down on Monday morning, what am I going to talk about this week? But actually, with a season plan, you've got that for months ahead, so it's great.
When I used to work in live streaming, I still work in live streaming,
Right.
but when I was doing it for my day job, there was always two things for people that were getting started. They were either afraid that they didn't have enough in them,
Yes.
or they're afraid they had too much in them and they got overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So I like that way of rationalizing it and breaking it down.
Yeah. It's good.
So Colin, I wanted to ask, and maybe I missed it, but did you say for you have that seasonal the seasons for your podcast?
Yes.
Is there a certain amount you always do for each season, or is it just kind of based on the content?
It totally comes down to the topic, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, we change it every time. I've had a season as short as 4 episodes. That was all it needed, really. And I've done one 20 episodes long as well.
Wow.
So yeah, it just depends on the topic, I think.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So the other thing is, I know you have, and once again, correct me if I'm wrong, you have a newsletter that comes out quite a bit, because I get that. So
great.
if somebody wants to sign up for that newsletter, and because it's really got a ton of great stuff for podcasters.
Thank you.
If you're getting started, if you want to you have questions, I mean, it's really there's only a few newsletters I read, and this is one of them. So can you tell people how they can sign up?
Yeah, sure. I mean, if you just go over to thepodcasthost.com, we have a link at the very top of every single page on the site. It's kind of our main thing. So sign up for the newsletter and get that. And
Yes.
So podcasters with an S.
Right.
With thepodcasthost.com.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Got it.
So, for people who are watching who I've always wanted to do a podcast, or maybe they've done a live show like we have, and they're trying to think about, maybe I want to turn this into a podcast. What is something that, from all your years of experience, and everything that you've done, like maybe a pitfall to avoid or a lesson learned that you would say, you're getting started, do this?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it almost sounds like too simple advice, but that's it. It's all about being simple. It's like I find so many shows get killed by the fact that people overcomplicate things too early. So they go with a setup like this, like we've got a really good pro setup here, 3 mics into the Rodecaster, and folk think they have to start like that.
No.
But actually, get this, and it's a relatively simple device, but there's still all these switches and things. It's just so much faff to set up and all that kind of stuff. And by all means, get into the more developed setups like this 10, 15, 20 episodes in, but I always tell people just get a really simple USB mic in the early days. Set yourself up so that you're concentrating on the content, like figuring out your best presentation style, finding your voice, talking to your listeners. That's the key really for me in the first 10, 20 episodes. So simplify everything else, from the software to the equipment to everything, all the tech parts. That's what I usually say.
Do you have any specific advice for people who are getting started in editing their own podcasts? Like,
yeah, sure.
There's kind of a school of thought, like I take out all of my ums and ahs, and it can take like a 1 hour podcast could take 8 hours. And so what do you tell people, like, and how do you like to edit?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is one of my pet subjects. What part of my talk on Wednesday was about this was how. So I have a process that I call MEE. So MEE, minimum effective editing, and it's the principle of just recording as if you're live, like this.
Right.
So we know we're not going to edit this afterwards.
Right.
So you make a mistake, you trip over your tongue, you go, oh, sorry, it's not what I meant, and you fix it then and there, and you commit to not editing. And editing can be a real crutch, I think, for people.
Yes.
It means that they don't have to worry about trying to get better at not umming and ahhing and all that kind of stuff. Whereas if you commit 10 to 20 episodes, your first 10 to 20, I'm not going to edit much at all. All I'm going to do is cut out, like trim it, start and end, do a basic bit of normalization for my levels, but actually I'm not going to edit out mistakes. Suddenly you think more about your ums and your ahs and your crutch words, and you edit them out yourself. And it makes it so much better because you don't spend so much time editing. That's the principle I tend to follow.
That is great advice, because so I think, what was it, after 7 podcasts, people usually quit podcasting?
That's a common one,
and so, part of it is because of that. It's like, if you're editing so much, you're going to get burnt out, like super fast. I think that is great advice. So let's talk about the future podcasting, like the stuff that you've seen during the show, the podcast movement today, some of the new stuff. What are you most excited about in the podcasting space? Because you're like one of the OG ones. Like, we had Lou on before, and Eric's going to come on later. I mean, you guys have been doing it for so many years. What excites you, and especially about the show?
I think I just love the fact that there's so many more. The podcasting is becoming more sort of big brand, so there's a lot more of the big brands coming in, but it's really excited me to see that there's still loads of indie podcasters around. There's still all these people just talking about their passion, talking about their hobby. So I just love that mix, actually. Even though we're getting some more attention through the big brands, we've still got all these indies around, and it's brilliant. I love that. There's been so much, just hear your guys' thoughts on this as well. There's so much talk about more video podcasting at this show as well. It just seems to be coming up a lot. I have to admit, I don't watch any video podcasts at all. The whole thing around podcasting for me is I'm on a walk, I'm on a drive, I'm cooking my dinner, I'm listening to something. Like, do you guys watch podcasts, or do you think it's the same thing?
So, I watch clips of podcasts. And my thing is, it's all about repurposing. So I always love to do do it with video, because I can I get more bang for my buck. So that's the main reason. I've always done it from the very beginning. Now, discoverability, the YouTube, and Eric's going to talk about that a little bit, about the YouTube podcast thing, and so that's kind of exciting, I think. So, I don't know. I think, what are your thoughts, Grace, about video?
I think with the rise of short form video, so like TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, you're seeing more and more pressure to do video, and so from this is our content. This is our advertising content.
Yeah, for sure.
And it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be amazing, but it draws you in. And I've discovered so many new podcasts because of something that they did on TikTok, right? And they weren't. But there's a lot of creativity, so I don't. And I always tell people, if you don't feel comfortable, or if this is too much for you, don't. Don't
absolutely.
do it, right? Because I've also seen people that will overlay their audio content over some other video or something else on TikTok and in Instagram, where you'll see someone like baking bread or whatever, but like the audio on top of it is this true crime, right?
Right.
And it sucks you in. So like that's not something that they had. That was something that they reused and generated. So. I mean, I think it's like if you're. I've always started with video, and then what I do turns into a podcast. So to go the other way, I think is a very different thing.
It's a funny one, yeah. I'm not sure on it. I'm kind of withholding judgment a little bit.
But even if it's a video, people still engage with it like a podcast.
Right.
Because I'm also very aware that someone is watching us, but they're probably, updating a spreadsheet. Or
Right.
moving
They're not
things
really
around
watching.
Right.
They're not really watching.
Chris Stone, you need to put on some pants and go outside. All right. So if you're watching, so what I
There's that too.
Yeah,
you get
there's
the
that.
live comments.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. That's
So,
good.
Colin, I wanted to ask you, one of the things I think, especially beginning podcasters, I mean, it takes a lot of time. They want to upgrade their equipment, and so they want to monetize.
Yeah.
And I know that's a big topic that we've talked about,
Yeah.
sessions about.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts of monetization, like when it should happen, and should that be your goal in podcasting?
I mean, it's difficult to have it as a goal, I think, because you
Right.
have to, I mean, if you put it in too early, it can, well, either it just doesn't pay off, or, I mean, I like the approach of either you work towards making your own product or service. It seems, that feels like the best way, because
Yes.
you're building that trust with your audience for your own, your own personal brand, your own knowledge, your own experience. So if there's something that you can offer up in terms of whether it's even just coaching, or whether it's creating a course, whether it's creating a real life product, like an
Right.
actual physical product, I mean, I think that can be a great way to do it. But in the early days, actually, something we often recommend is working with affiliate marketing
Yes.
as a podcaster, because when you've only got 100, 500 listeners at that point, it's kind of it's not really worthwhile doing sponsorship. The numbers, the CPMs are
Right.
just a bit too low. But if you've got 100 people listening to your show that know and trust you,
Right.
Yeah.
and you recommend a $100 product that you
Yeah.
genuinely like, genuinely use,
Yes.
fits their audience, you can convert like half of them into buying it. And
Yeah.
that
Right.
can actually be a reasonably good income. And it paves the way, even if you want to go into selling your own products later or sponsorship later, your audience know that this content is great, but it's supported by mentioning other products or whatever. So it paves the way so that I've seen shows add sponsorship 50 episodes in,
Yeah.
and the listeners rebel because it's never been in it before.
Yeah.
Yes.
So setting that precedent, I think, is a good
Yeah,
idea.
that's good. By the way, I got to give a shout out. We talked about sponsorships, and that's what we did when we started, and we
Yeah.
continue to do. We are very blessed to have Ecamm
Yes.
sponsor our show. Big shout out to them. Let's broadcast live from their booth. But you can find out more at socialmedianewslive.com/Ecamm. They are amazing. They also have a new podcast coming out, and Paul Duncan is going to drop that inside the comments, so we can actually, you guys can link and give them a rating review. But it's a great show, live on Wednesdays, but all about video podcasting. So make sure you check that out. But Colin, I want to ask you another question
Okay.
that I'm interested in hearing what you think, because it seems like there's almost a land grab for podcasts with the networks.
Yes.
I'd love to know your thought about networks, and I know sometimes when I've read some of the things that they want you to do to provide as a creator, they want you to give them a lot.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's even like a clause that says something about like, we have the right to replace you as a host.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's, when you see that money, it's easy to want to grab it and like help them, but then you have to look at like, I don't want to give away my stuff. So
Given over huge control. Yeah, absolutely.
So what are your
yeah.
thoughts on networks and the land grab kind of idea?
Yeah, I mean, it can be a way. I've seen people join a network and make a living out of it. I've seen other people join a network, grow more of an audience,
Right.
use that network's resources to grow an audience and benefit the network too. Like it's a two-way thing. But then actually take that elsewhere and grow your show elsewhere. So it can be, I think it depends on your situation, doesn't it? It depends
Right.
whether you have a bit of an existing audience, whether you're willing to give up that control, maybe even give up your whole first show to the network so that you can move on to something later on and
Yeah.
use that equity that you've built with the audience there. But I don't know, I think it's very personal.
Yeah. So for your brand and podcast, like, what are you looking for in the future? Like, to me, when I look at you, I'm like, oh, he's made it. He's got it. He's got the followers. He's been doing this for so long. So how does an old school podcaster, what are you trying to get? Is it always more followers? Is it more sponsors? what do you reach for as like a business goal for
Yeah.
like your thing?
Well, it's interesting. Right now, the main thing we're doing is actually just trying to create more products for our
Right.
audience, our existing audience. Because like you say, we're in a really lucky position where people do follow our stuff and follow along. So we hear the questions and the problems that people have quite often.
Right.
And the biggest thing they always came to with me, part of the reason it's my pet thing, is editing. How do you make that easier? That's why we create, so our product Alitu, for example, that's why we created that. That's our podcast maker app. Editing, making it easier to edit, simplify editing, because so many people use like Audition, Audacity. They're not really podcast specific. They've got so many things in there that don't fit podcasters. So that's what I love doing actually, is taking the questions we get from our audience and turning it into solutions for them. And that's where Alitu came from. So that's kind of our focus at the moment, is making that app into everything that people need to make a podcast. So it's good fun as well.
Very cool.
Perfect.
So one of the last questions I want to ask you is, we talked with Lou, who, like once again is an OG podcaster.
Yeah.
You don't do video so much. So how can podcasters who are like specifically audio only, how do you build community? Because it's hard, because it's like, it's passive, like you're saying, people are like driving or, so what are some tips or calls to action or whatever that you use to drive community in your brand?
Yeah, we do a lot around, we recently started a community on Circle, actually. I don't know if you've come across that. Really good platform for it. Makes it really easy. I mean, I think part of the way that we've managed to grow that is we mention it obviously in our podcast. We do a bit of YouTube as well, mention it on that. Our blog is probably the way that we reach the most people through the podcast, so we include it on that. But it's about having those regular events inside the community, I think, as well. Like we have shout out Tuesdays and special topic Thursdays. We do live events once a month. We do Q&As as well. So myself, Matthew, Lindsay on the team, we all do a live Q&A once a week, every single week, where we just sit there and answer questions that come up. I don't know if there's that much complicated about community other than just giving your time to it.
Right.
And that can be difficult sometimes when you feel busy, you've got so many other things on. But it's actually committing and showing that you're there to help them and you're part of the community.
Right.
I don't know about yourselves. I've joined communities in the past around a brand, and they're never there.
Yeah. So do you do a shout out like what I'd love to know is like a tactic that like a new podcaster could use to help them foster community. Do you like Lou has a thing like call this number, leave a voicemail, and he'll play it at the end. Yeah. I mean, do you have specific tactics you like to use for that?
So tying into the seasons thing earlier, I think seasons are excellent for this because you've got this really good excuse at the end of the season. 3 months in, like you've been podcasting regularly weekly for 3 months, and you say, right, we're taking a month off. We're not going to be here for a month, but over this month I'm going to be on Twitter, let's say, and I'm going to be engaging and asking for questions. Here's what I want you to answer. Next season we are going to cover, let's say, equipment. What are your biggest struggles with equipment?
Right.
What mic do you use? What mixer do you use? What do you want us to cover? And that's like a good month worth of not podcasting, but actually just interacting with the community. And I think one of the biggest things in that is being super specific. Because every time we've tried that in the past and say just what are you struggling with, or give us some feedback, something quite generic, it's not enough of a prompt. People just don't do it. As soon as you get really specific, like what mic do you use? What was the last time? What happened last time your equipment broke or your live stream went off?
Right. Yeah, exactly. That happens. Yeah.
I mean, when it happens, right? We don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a last question for you.
Okay,
so something that we hear a lot, we've been hearing a lot at the conference this week, is the get to know your audience, And you gave us some hints. You gave us some really good advice with taking the break and asking Twitter. But I've heard things like surveys or whatever, but I haven't really heard how do you get, what are some other ways you can talk to your audience and get to know what it is that they want and get to know them. So, and I've gotten some good ideas, but do you have any other ones in addition to the Twitter one? Is amazing, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The one that works best for us, actually, it was the one that surfaced that editing production type problem. The biggest that took us to where we are now is our newsletter. So Jeff, you mentioned the newsletter.
Yes.
Every time somebody signs up for that, we give a giveaway. So we've got a couple of PDFs, some free resources, that kind of stuff that encourages them to sign up. But then second day, I think it is, we send an email with nothing but the question, what's your biggest struggle in podcasting right now?
That's good.
And we get so many responses to that. It's just so quick and simple, and it's automated, it goes out, but it's from my name, and I genuinely reply to people who reply to it. So it's partly automated, but it's also partly community building and engagement. But we get so much from that, so much feedback from that.
What I love about it is the simplicity of it, the one question.
Keep it really simple,
Because a lot of people will send it, because I keep hearing the survey, and I'm like, well, and as a listener and a consumer, I'm like, I don't want to answer
There's
20
too many.
questions.
Right. Too many.
But that builds your show too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
then you know what to like. What if you have like 10 people asking, what mic to get?
That's it.
You know, there you go.
Absolutely. That powers the content from then on. Yeah,
Right.
totally.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, Colin, I don't want to take any more of your time, but let everybody know, and we'll make sure we tag it everywhere on the show notes and everything, where they can find you, how to get a hold of you, and that awesome newsletter, by the way. You need to sign up
Thank
for
you.
that.
Yes,
I really
yes.
appreciate that,
Yeah,
Jeff.
yeah.
That's great. Yeah, we're over at, all the content, if you want to learn how to start your podcast, it's over at thepodcasthost.com. And if you want to check out our Podcast Maker app, that'd be excellent too. That's over at alitu.com, alitu.com.
Awesome. Thanks, Colin.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you,
Colin.
Thank you.
Very much.
All right, guys, that was Colin Gray. Make sure you go. I'm serious. That newsletter, I've told you before that, like, I don't sign up for many, but that's one of them, and
He
it's
doesn't-
real good.
Jeff doesn't even read my emails.
I barely read
and
at all.
he reads this newsletter.
So that's why I do live video.
That's why. That's why.
So, all right, as we get the next guest in, make sure you guys go to check out Ecamm at socialmedianewslive.com/Ecamm. Like I said, we're at a conference. People are walking around staring at us like, what are these people doing? But we can only make this possible by Ecamm. In fact, I want Doc Rock to come a little bit here and talk about...
I'm gonna go get the Descript person.
Okay, and talk about the actual podcast he has, but also a special thing that's coming up called Leap into Podcasting, and that's coming up pretty shortly. Isn't that right, Doc? I kind of put it in the, kind of got him off his conversation.
Hi.
So I
My
watched
name is
Doc.
Grace Duffy. And,
So I have watched.
Wait.
And you're not. And so I
how
watched
do I
Doc.
lower this chair?
I don't know if you can.
No, I just wanted to be Grace.
Oh yeah. So I know Doc for a while, watched him, and this is the first time we met in real life.
Yes.
So and Jim is taking all. He's
We're
my
changing
photographer.
the name of this to the Before
Right.
and After podcast.
That's right. So and I can run real fast too. Look at that. No, then you don't cross the streams. Remember that. Bad things happen. So, Doc, talk first of all about the new podcast
Yes.
that you're doing called The Flow. Where to find it? What's it about? And what does it have to do with podcasting?
Okay, so The Flow is a podcast that we're doing as a way to help people who want to start a podcast realize that if you're going to start today, start video first. And it doesn't matter whether you want to have a video podcast or not. A video first approach does a whole bunch of things. It makes it easier because when you go to edit, you have visual cues to edit.
Mm-hmm.
If you happen to have a guest, you guys can see each other. Even if Katie's in Mass and I'm in Hawaii, that's right, it was a humble flex. When Luis goes to edit the video, he can see. If I do some weird histrionic, he almost knows I said something stupid at that moment, so you can cut that
it.
part out.
Right.
You don't even have to listen to it almost. I can give him hand cues, visual cues, and he'll know. So the editing process is way simpler. What a lot of people always say is, how do I get more people to see my podcast? Number one question on the floor today.
Right.
Right? Well, if you're shooting a video first approach, you can take clips and send it to the video locations like TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, so forth, so on, and et cetera.
Amazon Live.
Amazon Live, another one.
Yeah.
So you can send video clips there, and those become your discovery mechanisms, right? So people can discover you and then come back to your real cast. So we're showing the workflow of how to generate a podcast from zero to hero. And then we're also talking about the video aspect of it, because it just really does make it easier. Nowadays, this whole conference is talking about, video podcast is new. And I'm laughing over here because I've been doing video podcasts for 18 plus years.
Right, that's what you
You
said.
know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it does make life way easier. It just is. It does.
But they can also watch it at a certain time. of the week.
100%.
Yeah, where's it
We're
live at?
Every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern, we record a live version, and then a week later, it ends up in your podcast feed, wherever podcast getting is got. You can find us at flow.ecamm.com, or you can just go to like Apple Podcasts or whatever and just type in The Flow. We're
Right,
in there.
The Flow.
And if you like it, leave us a review. That's the most important thing you can do for any podcast, people. I know a lot of listeners don't know this. The best thing you can do for a podcast is leave a review on iTunes, because it's the one that counts, and share with somebody. Jeff, I heard this new podcast, and it's about, like beard grooming and stuff. You got to check it out. sharing podcasts and leaving reviews is the best thing
Right.
you can do for any podcast you love. I
Yeah.
know a bunch of people listen to The Daily. I do too.
Yep,
Same as Grace.
yep.
I wonder how many people have actually left a review.
That's true. Probably not many. But
I
the other
have.
thing is you have to educate people now. You're not supposed to say, like, subscribe to my podcast. It's
Follow.
supposed to be follow because
Follow.
people get confused that it costs money because there are subscription-based podcasts. So say, follow our podcast, leave a rating and review. So on that note,
Yes, sir.
there's something else coming up that's really, really cool.
Oh,
Leap into
podcasting.
this.
Yes. Leaping the podcast is going to be cool. So this will be our third leap. It's funny.
Leap.
It's funny to say it. Our third leap. This is our third leap. Stephanie and Katie sort of started our leap like years ago. That's how I met you guys, actually.
Right. We were
Right.
there.
And we did Leap into live streaming twice, but this year we really think that the move is podcast, so we're doing Leap into podcasting. What was super funny is I've been on for about a year talking about YouTube's going podcasting because I'm a YouTube coach, right?
Right.
Well, I'm a content coach now, but it
Right.
started out as a
Yeah.
YouTube coach. And I kept saying, YouTube's getting podcasts, it's coming soon. Everybody's looking at me like, Doc, you really got to stay out of the Maui Wowie. And I'm like, no, man, it's coming. And they're like, okay, whatever, man. And then Tuesday, the article comes out, boom, YouTube has a podcasting tab. And it just started. Like, they're about to do some more things. So even more so, if you've been sitting around thinking about starting a podcast, just sort of Fitna, my favorite. I'm fitting to do this. You've been fitting for 5 years. Now it's time to get in. Get your iPhone out, lock yourself in the bathroom, tell the family, hush their face,
Yeah.
and do your podcast.
Go in the closet. Bathroom's a little echoey. I would go in a closet.
Car has the best
that's right.
acoustics.
Yeah, you're true. Yeah.
Bruh,
So-
Car has amazing acoustics.
So we will be speaking at the New Leap in Live. So there's one person, you follow us, and we'll, go there. It's going to be a tons of content. I've seen a little peek of the content that's coming out. It's going to be off the charts. So,
Oh yeah, well because you guys are speaking.
Well,
so.
I just didn't want to do that. But
Actually, everybody's coming to see Grace.
that's right.
I'm not trying to
She
throw you
makes-
any shade
Yeah,
or
it's
nothing.
like Beauty and the Beast, but she gets mad when you call her Beast. So anyway, don't do that. So, anyway, Doc, thank you so much, my friend.
Man, thank you guys for blessing the booth. Here's the coolest thing about having you guys here. A lot of people on the show floor are showing stuff about like what you need for podcasts. We're probably the only booth that's actually podcasting from the floor.
Right.
And it causes everybody to stop in their tracks.
That's right.
Mostly they came to see Grace, not us, but yeah, it's cool.
We're just here for. She's the real reason people.
Grace,
show up,
I kept your seat warm.
Yeah,
You ready?
she did. So we've got some other guests coming on that are going to be really, really cool. But make sure you sign up for Leap into Podcasting because there's going to be tons of content. It's going to be recorded and all that stuff. But sign up and go live because it's going to be fun. So
We have
Grace
Christiana.
Grace just went and just pulled people off the floor.
I am pulling people off the floor. No,
That's
this
right.
is something we had planned. We have
Yeah.
Christiana Cromer from Descript or
it's
Descript.
my favorite tool. I know, Kristen, come in here and tell
Come
us.
on.
Yeah, tell us how to say it actually,
Okay.
because I say it wrong probably.
She's the community manager from
Hello.
from Descript,
Yes.
Descript.
How are we
do you-
supposed to say it?
How do we say it?
Totally up for interpretation.
Oh, really?
However way you'd like.
So-
We'll accept it as long as you talk about us. It's
Oh.
fine.
We are talking-
So I have been. It is. See, I'm gushing right now because
yeah, we're such fans of Descript.
I have. It
Wow,
has
thank you.
changed the way that I do shows. It's changed the way I edit. It's changed the way I do clips for social.
Totally.
And so, I mean, I use it. We use it. I'm the producer for one of the producers for Guy Kawasaki's podcast, and that's what we use it
Awesome.
for. And so, it's just an amazing tool. It keeps
Thank
getting
you for
better.
saying all that.
So, I am gushing. Tell everybody if they haven't heard about Descript what it is and what it does.
Totally. Oh, scoot over a little bit.
Yeah.
Awesome,
Grace doesn't
awesome.
bite most times.
I'm not
Get
gonna
most
bite.
comfy.
I'm
times.
not gonna bite
She's
you.
not in
Awesome.
public.
I'm
she
gonna
does.
move over here closer. But
Yeah.
yes, tell us.
Totally. So what is Descript? Descript is a audio and video editor.
Mm-hmm.
We transcribe your content so you can edit it like text. So it's full service. Anything you want to do, add captions.
Right.
Make social videos to promote across social.
Audiograms.
Remo-
all sorts of-
audiograms,
yeah.
remove your filler words, and we actually just launched something called Storyboard. It's currently in a preview release.
You're
but
hearing
it's-
about it first.
Yes.
I heard about it earlier.
Heard it here first. It's a complete redesign of Descript. So, with some crazy new video editing features that I am personally really excited about.
It's cool.
So yeah, that's us in a nutshell.
So
So
there are two things that I love about
Okay, you
Descript.
go ahead.
I'm gonna tell you. No, just the two
I
things.
know I'm excited.
You're so excited. The one is the overdub.
Totally.
You're gonna tell me about you're gonna tell everyone about Overdub.
Absolutely.
I will not do it justice. And the other one is the fact that you can type and then have one of your voices
Totally.
read it. So I will tell you, I'll let you in a secret. I was working on a certain brand, and we were doing ads, and it's hard sometimes to do voice, and we used your voices.
Totally.
Amazing, like amazing. And I know people that are using it to make their Amazon Live video.
Oh, yeah.
Amazon
Product
influencer
videos. Yeah, product videos, yeah.
Yeah, where they'll record, they'll do like a
I've
video.
seen Shelly's in the comments. Shelly Saves the Day. I saw her do it first.
Yes.
I believe. A big shout out to Shelly.
Love
She
Descript.
was using
Awesome.
Descript for that. She said she loves it in the. Look at all these people saying
hi,
love
Shelly.
Descript. Yeah.
But
so
she's the one that taught us like you do the video with your
B-roll. Do B-roll first.
right?
Yeah.
And then you put it into Ecamm or
Descript. You record it with
Descript.
Ecamm, then put it. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
record it with Ecamm, do it
Totally.
with Descript, do the voice. Oh my gosh, so easy. So tell us about Overdub and tell us about the voices.
Totally, yes. So Overdub is our synthetic voice cloning tool.
Yeah.
So you throw in some recordings of you speaking from your podcast, from your videos, wherever, and Descript will learn your voice. So then, say you make a mistake, or you want to do an ad reel, but you don't want to actually read it.
Right.
You just type out what you want to say, or you correct the mistake you made. And suddenly you didn't make that mistake, and we use that voice cloning technology to fix it for you.
It's freaky scary a little bit. It is a little bit scary, but it's
Yeah.
very, very cool especially for podcasters. If like I have said before the wrong thing, like
Totally.
it sounded the same, but I said the wrong, product.
Yeah.
Going in there and changing it and have it sound like you. Oh my gosh, not having to go back and re-record stuff.
Totally.
The other thing we kind of glossed over, like, oh yeah, it transcribes. So you can drop an audio or a video in there, and it makes a
Yes.
transcript. Now, there are other tools that do this, but I have found that this one has the best accuracy
Totally.
of it. And you also offer like white glove,
We do.
where a human can go back through it too. So you have both
Exactly.
options, right?
Yes, exactly. So especially if you have like solid audio,
Right.
we can get the transcription just with our AI up
Right.
to 99% accuracy.
Right.
And then we have a lot of tools that in Descript itself that can get you up to that 100%. So we have something called the Transcription Wizard,
Right.
where we'll go through and actually recommend things that we think were wrong. Really quick and easy pass through, get those fixed.
Right.
We also have something called the Transcription Glossary, where say you have a podcast with a lot of jargon, you can put those words in, and Descript will learn them and start getting them right.
It's amazing because like whenever we've had Lou on here earlier, and his name's Lou Mangello, it always comes across as Lemon Jello. But I was able to go in and fix that
Right.
in that glossary, and it does it right. The same way with yours, when I say Grace Stuffy, it's like Grace Snuffy.
Yeah.
Right.
Kind of blur your words together, and I can fix it that way as well.
Right.
So that does save a lot of time. It
Totally.
adds up after a while. So,
Absolutely, yes.
So
yes.
we need a shout out for what is the name of the company that does all this?
It's Descript.
Yes.
So check us out, descript.com. I'm Christiana. I'm our community manager. You can also join our Discord, follow us along on social.
It's amazing. I don't think you got to comprehend this because you drag in any audio and video and then it makes a transcript. Okay, there's other tools that do that. Gotcha. But you edit your word, like it's a Word document. Think of it's text. You edit that. It changes it. It makes clips. Here's our workflow. So we do this show. We drag it as soon as the show's done. Ecamm actually records it and it's a video file. I take that video file. I drop that into Descript. Makes a transcript in like 3 minutes, about an hour show.
Yep.
I can go in and then highlight sections that I want to take out for social. As I highlight those, I know it actually tells me how long that's going to be. And I know that since I'm doing it for social, I want to make a square video clip that I want it to be under 220, which is Twitter. And so I make sure that answer or that little clip is under 220.
Right.
I export that. I clip it out with their little, is it the clipping tool? I clip it out. It makes a little thing there. I have it actually has the transcript with it, so I don't have to make subtitles with another, service. I export that. Boom, it's done. I can add like a bar, a progress bar. I can make an audiogram out of it. It's just
Yeah.
it's changed everything, folks. I'm telling you, it's amazing.
Wow.
So
it's a one-stop shop.
yeah, and
Yeah.
and it does video. It's not just audio. It's just audio and video. So
Yes.
so fast. So
Awesome.
I probably took all the words out of your mouth. But I'm
No,
sorry.
you did. I
But-
know. I don't even need to be here.
So a sneak peek of the video editing stuff that's coming
Totally.
out.
Sure.
So talk about storyboards.
Yes. So Storyboard, we launched that just about a month ago. Oh, it's filled with goodness. I don't even know where to
Yeah.
start. A big crowd pleaser is that we added dark mode, which is great.
Yes.
But we've got AI green screen in there. We've got new transitions, new audio effects. We developed something called scenes, which is a new way to think about your video editing.
Yes.
You can sort of chop up your entire video into something more of like a slides or like a Google Doc almost.
Right.
And just make a really longer narrative story with all the pieces that you want. We added a stock media library, so everybody completely free to use can add
Very cool.
B-roll, GIFs, stock music.
Oh my gosh.
Templates. That's my big
And a
thing. Yes.
big one.
yeah.
Templates is probably my favorite,
Right.
and probably something that I will use the most out of.
Right.
So now in Descript you can save templates with all of your branding, the captions you want, the waveforms you want, whatever. You just hit publish, and you and your team can reuse that over and over again. We also have Descript provided like a gallery of templates
Yeah.
you can choose from
That's
if you don't
cool.
want to make your own.
And that is amazing if you've got a live show, weekly podcast.
Exactly.
And you just got to get that, you're working on the
Content's out.
you have that, templates will save you. So that is amazing.
Yes,
So,
I'm stoked about it.
LBC Branding said, I didn't know about the glossary. I'm checking that out today.
Awesome.
That does save a lot of time. It really does, especially with, if you work for a company, like I did the same thing with Ecamm because sometimes it would not put the 2 M's in it.
Yeah.
So being able to use that glossary saves you time and saves your transcript when you export it and all that kind of stuff. So
Totally.
Very, very cool.
So check
Awesome.
out Descript or Descript.com.
Yes,
Yeah, whatever.
either way.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
And
check us
she
out.
has to go to a meeting, so
Oh,
we're gonna
yes.
let her
Okay.
go.
Thank
But
you
this
so
was
much.
so fun. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks
for
to
letting
everyone
us
watching.
Pull
This
you
was so
in
fun.
from the floor.
Anytime.
Because they're actually exhibiting this week.
So Darcy, it's Descript with a
Yes.
T. So
Descript.
Descript.com.
Descript.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Check us
So,
out. Come say
awesome.
hi.
We've got a
Awesome.
couple more guests. It's going to be amazing. We've got the incredible, one of my favorite guys, Jim Fuse, who's helped me with Amazon Live, but he is also a podcaster. So we're going to pull him in really quick. I'm going to get Jim first because Eric, he wasn't here on time. So, no, we're going to get Jim first. We're going to close with you. We're going to close with Eric Fisher. So Jim Fuse.
This is how we treat our friends.
That's right.
guys.
Because
That's how we
he
treat our
can
friends.
take it.
We've
But
got the amazing Jim Fuse, and
He's throwing
Eric,
things.
Eric's throwing
He's
a
throwing
fit right
things.
now. Sorry.
But
Oh my gosh.
but Jim has helped me, and we've had him on the show, and him and his partner in crime, Chris Stone, on quite a bit. But very excited about Amazon Live. But they're also do the show as a podcast. So,
Yes.
Jim, tell people about Dealcasters, where they can find you, what you guys do, all that stuff.
Well, as Chris would say, we're on all the tubes or all the books. But we also have a podcast, Dealcasters, which what we do is some of our Amazon live shows that are interviews is we turn them into podcasts. So we're on Apple, Spotify. And so you just go look for Dealcasters. In fact, the easiest way to find Dealcasters, just go to Google.
Right, it's
Because
everywhere.
it's everywhere.
Right.
But you can go to dealcasters.live to see our live shows. You can go to dealcasters.shop to see our storefront on Amazon and see some of the things that we're reviewing. But the podcasting has been a lot of fun because we are able to repurpose it. And now what YouTube has podcasts, I can't figure out, because I saw our show on there and I didn't know.
Oh,
it
you
was
got. So I haven't checked
don't
it
know.
much.
It's
so
weird.
we'll look at.
We'll have to look
we're
it
gonna.
up.
Eric's going to talk about that in a little bit about some of the new YouTube
if
stuff.
he
that's
if
coming
he
out.
can stick around.
Yeah, you may not.
I don't know, he might storm
We'll have
off
to
here
bribe
in any
him.
minute.
Somebody put a muffin here, and he may come get
Maybe
it.
Lou will have candy for him.
Yes. So Jim, so how long has you've been podcasting?
It's been about 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would you tell somebody who's just getting started on podcasting after like your 2 years? Because you've tried some things and you've had to
Right.
make some adjustments. So what would you tell
I
new
think-
podcasters?
I think as a new podcaster, one is don't get upset if you're not getting a ton of downloads. I mean, it's just like with a live stream. It's about being consistent. It's about getting this stuff out there. I think the other big thing is to take the pressure off yourself if you can batch. By that meaning, do a few shows in advance. Like, I don't know how you do it with Social Media News Live because you're putting stuff out every week, but you also got a really good system.
Right.
And have been doing
Yeah,
this a
yeah.
while. But if you can get yourself a little bit ahead, then that way you don't feel like the pressure, like, oh my gosh, we gotta get a show out, we gotta do a podcast today. I think that helps because
Right.
I think otherwise you start to really overthink it.
Yeah.
and then you get frustrated, and oh, well, we missed it. Now nobody's going to listen to us because we didn't put a show out this week.
Well, and James Hicks says, yeah, he's been rocking fresh Dealcaster swag all week. So yeah, he's looking. Yeah, he's
Always be branding.
That's right.
Always
Very
be
good.
branding.
I
Always be
I have
branding.
my branding with me all the time. So, so you've been going to sessions, Jim. There was some cool Amazon stuff we saw up in the top here. But what are some of the things, like a big takeaway that you've had from Podcast Movement?
Yeah.
I think for me that I came here as an attendee, and I think the networking
Oh yeah.
is just being here, getting to meet people, seeing all these these great companies are here. The next row behind us, I guess we could call it Gas Central, where you've got all these tech companies. You've
Right.
got Heil and Shure
Right.
and
Yeah.
Focusrite, and then I learned about this company called Hercules
Yes.
that is actually up in Nashville. They made guitar stands, but now they are creating stands for things
Mics
like your
and-
phone
yeah.
and your tablets. So as a creator, that's like like right now, right? You've got all this stuff here, but
Yeah.
sometimes you need it out of the way. So that was really neat. And then Focusrite's got this new, is it called the Vocaster?
Yeah, yeah.
Which
You can have one. There's one version that has one mic and one headphone to keep it simple. And then another version that
Yes.
has two inputs and two mics, so you can do
Yes.
an interview. Yeah, it's really cool.
But also how much is going on in the whole idea of monetization of your podcast.
Right.
And I'm still find that to be, something that I got to really look into, because I'm not really sure what the right way to go is. But I'll have to ask the great Jeff C. maybe some
Yeah.
stuff about that.
I'll let you know when I hit it. Hit the big time. So let's talk a little bit, because a lot of people still don't know what Amazon Live is. I bet you've had to explain it quite a bit probably already in this
Right.
conference. And you and I have talked about this a lot, that people still don't know what it is.
Yes.
So can you kind of give a real quick bird's eye view and why it's so exciting right now,
Yes.
and why you guys have kind of planted your flag there to talk about it and kind of be ambassadors for it?
Right. So yeah, what's happened is everyone talks about live selling, and it really started over in Asia. And so Amazon, they're a smart company, is like, maybe we should start doing this. So they've created a program. So we call it, it's like it's beyond the Amazon Associates program. It's like the next level up. You are going to apply based on some of your social followings, not on being a live streamer, your social followings. That's
Right.
the other thing. You can learn to live stream later, even though that's not always an easy thing to do. But you get to go live on Amazon. You get to create product videos that go on the Amazon product pages. And so if people watch your videos, click on it, make a purchase, you're monetized instantly, right? You're going to get 1 to 4%. And there's only about 3,000 people that we are aware of that have gone forward with that. I mean, when you consider what I heard at another conference, we're at 58 million
Right.
YouTube
Yeah.
Yes.
channels versus 3,000. I like my numbers.
Right.
But it also it lends to brands are now very interested in that, right? We've been fortunate to get to work with companies like Heil and Shure and now even Focusrite, as we've talked to them here.
Right.
They're interested, right? Because these brands are seeing people are shopping on Amazon. It's the largest product search engine. I didn't say Google, right?
Right.
Amazon.
Right.
So people are going there with the intent to buy. And you
Yes.
have to think about, I guess you'd call it the buyer's journey, right? We go to YouTube sometimes to search,
Right.
Right.
but we don't always buy there. And so I think that's another big thing. But because the program is still evolving, right, it's like it's not too late. And, some of our friends have started to get approved and are, now asking us like, hey, what do I do next? And
Right.
I think you have seen success.
Yeah.
I mean, Eric, I know, is
he's
getting
started.
ready to...
Grace?
Grace.
I'm starting to do it too. Yes.
Yes.
We're
So-
going live to Amazon right
now. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
So if somebody wants to get started at Amazon, where do they need to go first?
I would just go to, I think it's just search for like the Amazon Influencer Program. I can't
Right.
remember the exact
I think it's
URL.
Amazon.com/influencer, I think that's what it is.
Yeah, and just it's a really easy process. The hardest thing may be that you find that you may get disapproved. You may not have enough followers. They don't tell us
How
what
many
those
it needs,
numbers
yeah.
are, but don't give up, right? Just
Yeah.
whatever your favorite, it's TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook business. So whichever is your strongest. If you don't get it, just keep working at it.
Yeah.
And
And it takes
Don't
time
give
to get approved, right?
Yes.
And
So-
get on product pages after that.
Yes.
Yeah, get on product pages. It does take a little bit of time, so don't get discouraged if you don't hear back right. They've been varying.
It usually like 3 to 4 weeks to get on
Right.
product pages. Yeah.
Right.
But
now,
once you do.
Now, Albert's got an interesting question.
Yeah.
Can Amazon Live be classified as a podcast?
Well.
We do that with Dealcasters. We take our interview live streams and turn them into a podcast, and they are on Amazon Music. And then the beauty of that is, just like with Social Media News
Yeah.
Live, is we're able to put those podcasts in the carousel.
Yep.
And
People
so
can
if
subscribe.
right now, if you're watching Social Media News Live, go down there into the carousel and click on Social Media News Live and
You can follow
follow
our
them
show. Yeah.
on
Yeah.
Amazon.
Yeah.
And
So if you go jeffc.live, that's the fastest way to jump to our storefront. That's where you'll see the live right now, and you
Yeah.
can see the actual. Our show is #1, and you just click on that and you can subscribe, which is really cool for podcasters. So that besides that reason, Jim, why do you guys do a podcast? Because it'd be real easy just not to have to worry about that. Have you found that it helps with your brands? Like not only are we live, not only are we on Amazon, we also have a podcast that goes out to X amount of people. Is that why
yes,
you continue?
I think it's about It's about growing your presence. It's about some of it is even just awareness.
Right.
And the thing we're able to do too is with the podcast is we can put in the show notes all the things we talked about. We can also put a link back to if people want to watch the video.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's kind of like Chris and I like to talk about. It's kind of like the content flywheel of marketing.
Right,
You
right.
can't just stop with the live stream. It's like, okay, we're done. Off to the next one. And that's,
Right.
I think, the mistake
Yeah.
that a lot of people make. And so, even with the other show that I do, the Tim and Jim show, we're going to start podcasting or making it a podcast because that's content. And a lot of us have this content that's been really good that we're just not doing anything
Right. Right.
So Jacques says also apply to Amazon Associates, and they dropped the link in
Yes.
as well. So that's very, very cool. So
Yes.
awesome. So Jim, if people want to, do the rapid fire for Jim. I'm interested in his questions. his
Okay,
answers.
Jim.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And of course, it's not working now. Hold
So
on.
yeah, you hit a button.
I
There
hit
you
a
go.
button.
There
There
you
you
go.
go.
Button.
All
All
right.
right.
Jim, phone call or text?
Text.
Barbecue or Tex-Mex?
Tex-Mex.
What is your go-to karaoke song?
My go-to karaoke song is Bon Jovi, Living on a Prayer.
Oh, I got to hear that.
Oh, gotta hear that. TikTok or Instagram?
Instagram.
Oh, and then what is your favorite day of the week, Jim?
I'll say Saturday, college football.
Oh, I thought it'd be do the Braves play on Saturday?
Well, they play every day.
Oh, that's true.
They play every
He's
day.
like 10 minutes away, so he's
Oh
very
my-
lucky. But Jim, before you go, I want you to
Yes.
let everybody know where to find you, your
Yes.
show on Amazon, your Amazon storefront, whatever
Yes.
you want to say. Let people know where they can find Dealcasters and your amazing
Yeah,
content.
so you can find Dealcasters, like I said, dealcasters.live or dealcasters.shop. And then if you want to connect with me, easiest place, LinkedIn, just look for Jim Fuse. But we also do have a Dealcasters company page on LinkedIn.
There you go.
We're everywhere.
That's right. You
Yeah,
are
right.
everywhere. So
Yes.
make sure that they have helped me out tremendously. I wouldn't be on Amazon without them. So they've been on the show a bunch. So if you're watching and you're looking at our podcast, scroll back. We've had both Jim and Chris on and them on together. So as you can tell, I'm very excited about Amazon Live. So make sure you guys go back, check out some of those past episodes because they are amazing.
And
so
I'm very excited about getting to hang out with Jim.
Oh,
yes.
this has been great. And
We
this
ate
is
a lot of
like,
food.
I mean,
We ate so
eCam
much
has
food.
just been amazing.
Oh,
This
gosh.
is like
What a
the
setup.
coolest.
Yeah.
I got to know, I've got studio FOMO.
That's right.
I know.
That's right. So
And let
and
me
you can
tell
find.
you, we just rolled right in. We just
Yeah.
rolled right in. This was all.
Doc had it all set up.
Yep.
It's amazing. So make sure you guys check out eCam. Make sure you check out the Flow podcast that they're doing if you want to learn about video podcasts because it's amazing. And also if you want to find out more about eCam and check out their page, go to socialmedianewslive.com/eCam. That's ECAMM. Jim, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank
It's great to
you.
see you guys.
And now we have the amazing, exciting,
Eric
very
Fisher.
patient Eric Fisher.
Eric Fisher.
Because have we done a show live together? We've been doing live shows, the three of us, for like
I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
forever.
I don't think the three of us have ever done a show live together live.
Ever. No,
in
I don't think we have.
We've never been in person.
We've done
That's
shows
not true.
for like
We've never been in person
Yeah.
together. This is rare.
So
Yes.
Eric Fisher, Beyond the To-Do List podcast, he's another one of the OG podcasters. He's been doing it almost as long as Lou.
Almost.
Almost, not
almost,
quite, but
not
I mean, he's been doing it for a long time. How many episodes now? You just did a big celebratory thing, like
Yeah, the show has its 10th birthday this month, August 2022. So since August 2012.
wow.
And there's like near 450-ish episodes. Crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So-
crazy.
I wanted to ask you, since you've been doing it for such a long time, we've kind of asked
Well, we
the
need to talk
people.
about his show first.
No, everybody knows it.
No.
No, tell them what your show's about.
Tell us about
It's-
your show.
It's beyond the to-do list. It's a productivity show. Every time I say that to somebody, they say, "Oh, I need to listen to your show," and I'm like, "Yes, you do. Here's
Yeah.
where you go to do it. It's beyondthetodolist.com." And I talk to different people, various stages of productivity, whether they've got a brand new book out all about a specific topic, work-life balance, email, even like corporate culture, how to create great
Right.
teams, how to work with creative people, how to be a creative person, all like the spectrum. That's why it's called Beyond the To-Do List.
So if people want to go, they haven't, which most of the internet has, but let's just pretend that they haven't. Where should they start? What's like a good episode to start at?
Yeah, well, so 2 recent episodes are Tiago Forte about building
yeah.
a second brain.
yes, with
And
Notion.
yes.
Yes.
Yes, he's really good.
Or any tool, really.
Yeah, I use Roam
That's a
Research.
brand new episode out right now, and that's really going to offload some of all the just things we're trying to hold in our brains
Right.
constantly and that are overloading us with information overload.
Yeah.
And it's going to give you a system and a way to capture, work with, use,
Yeah.
have better ideas, use those ideas.
Yes.
So content creators and everyone else can use that. Another one is another recent one. The one right before that actually is Kate Tellers from The Moth. Long time
yeah.
running
Wow, yeah.
podcast.
Really great.
And her conversation with me was all about not just the power of, but the skill of storytelling.
Right.
Oh, wow.
And the importance of that. So that comes to light in the doing better presentations for work,
Yeah.
or writing, or video making, all this kind of good stuff. It works so seamlessly into all these aspects
Yeah.
of life. So
And you've got some big heavy hitters on there. I mean, like John Acuff, who's one of my fun.
That one's
a
coming
fun
up.
The
New
guy
one.
who does Accidental Creative. You've had on a
Todd
couple
Henry.
times. Todd Henry's
He's
amazing.
coming up again
Oh,
as
good.
well.
Yeah, so,
Oh my gosh.
so I mean, some really good people. Some people you may not have heard of, but they're always excellent interviews, and you always learn something. So, and you even have some like shortcasts, like Blinkist things.
Yeah.
Too. So talk about that real quick.
Yeah, so I've got a partnership with Blinkist, and if you've not heard of them, it's BLINKIST, and you go in there, and they basically partnered with me, and we've got 75 episodes that are called shortcasts. They're short versions, distilled down essences of podcasts. So if you don't have
Notes.
time to listen to a full episode,
Right.
but you want to get the best parts, it's me talking with a guest, but it's short clips, and I transition from clip to clip, and it's, you get the essence of it. So
Yeah, so those are very, very cool. So tons of content over there. But so go check out Beyond the To-Do List, beyondthetodolist.com?
yes.
Okay. But I want to know, since you've been doing this for so long, and we asked Colin, we asked, Lauren, and even Megan, like, what would you tell brand new podcasters that are just getting started, maybe a pitfall that you could avoid or something like that? Like, what do you tell them when they want to get started?
There's a couple different things I could say. One is come up with a bunch of different ideas, topics, as well as guests right out of the gate before you even start recording, so
Oh.
that you can kind of batch process and or just create a runway for yourself for a while you get into the rhythm of
Right.
recording. That's the first, that one I did. A lesson I learned retroactively was document
Right,
everything as you go. Mark where there are conversation pivot points in case you want to do dynamic ads in the future.
Yeah.
Document titles, have it in a spreadsheet, mark, when it was recorded, all these different things, like document them all, and even do transcriptions as you go. Like, don't create a backlog of work for yourself in the future. Pass the baton to your future self now, while it's tiny little tasks, not a
Right.
big old behemoth of a project.
So what tools do you use to help streamline your workflow?
Oh gosh, let's see.
Yeah,
well,
productivity
Descript. Descript is one of them.
Descript, yep.
Yes, so we just talked about that. You talked with that. Let's see, what else? I use the Rodecaster Pro to do my multi-track. This
Yes.
is the 2. I only have the 1. But Rode, if you're listening,
We'd be more than happy to do a
Yeah,
review
to
for you.
I will
accept.
do a review on Amazon. See, I'm tying it all together.
We're tying it all. This is what makes this man a pro, by the
that's
way,
right.
is he's tying all those strings together for us.
And then we go to Disney. See, I
That's right.
did it. I did it.
You did it! Yay!
Let's see, what else? Workflow. One of the things that I do, that actually, Jeff, you gave me this idea, is when you walk and talk, you can do a watch face on your Apple Watch with the app Just Press Record. And so then it'll transcribe that, it'll sync that to your phone as well as your MacBook. And then you've got those ideas there, and you can transcribe them, then pull them in. Because I'm an auditory ideator.
You're an auditory an external
Yes.
processor?
Yes.
Yes.
As you can tell.
Yes.
So
We've
it's-
worked together for a very long time.
Right. So
So
it's-
I know this about him.
It's just press record. You can find it in the App Store, but
Yeah.
it's all in my watch faces. So it works. It's great for when you're driving and you have an idea or you hear something to do that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's see. I'm trying to come up with what else. What else do I use to stream?
What do you use to edit?
Stream.
Yeah, well-
So I have an editor. So I don't do that anymore.
But you used to.
I used to use Audacity just
Right.
because I was used to it.
Right.
And it's still quick, simple, easy, and free.
Right.
So
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
something you can use to get started.
So at
So
what point did you hire an editor?
Too late.
Okay.
I waited too long. Yet another lesson.
Yes.
It's been about a year now.
Okay.
yeah.
But
And
before
you've been
that, it was
doing
all
for how long?
me.
10 years?
10 years, so 9 of those years, somebody else didn't edit it. It was me.
Yeah. So walking around, going to sessions, what is a big takeaway? I know we've been teasing you're going to talk about YouTube in a little bit, but
Yeah.
what did you take away from this conference so far?
I'm going to say one of the biggest things for me that was a takeaway was that it's easier, I think, for somebody to commit to subscribing to your email newsletter instead of your podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a commitment to listen to a podcast or subscribe to a podcast and have it keep showing up. But if an email inbox is less frequent, less of a just, I don't know. It's less of a commitment. It goes in a folder, you can delete it, you can hide it, you can whatever. But podcast inbox is kind of almost sacred, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but the gist here is in terms of creating your own discovery engine, it was Jay Klaus whose session this was. He said, use your social to get people to your email newsletter, and do a good newsletter, and remind them of great shows you have coming or just did, etc. And they're and then that way you can re-engage. If somebody unsubscribes from your podcast but is still subscribed to your newsletter, you can re-engage them and get them
Right.
excited back in your show.
Right. So I think a lot of people go through your list and they don't just subscribe. They pick out different episodes like, oh, I want to listen to John Acuff. Oh, I want to listen to, Todd Henry. And they start with those and like, okay, he's worth it. I'm going to hit that subscribe button. So a lot of times don't think it happens right away.
Right, exactly. And this is a way that you can nurture somebody towards subscribing long term to the show versus short term.
Yeah.
So we've teased it. We've talked about video with podcasting for a long time. So talk about, this YouTube news and what's your thoughts on it, just kind of broadly.
A lot of people have been hoping for something substantial from YouTube in the podcasting space for a while.
Absolutely.
Earlier this week, or very late last week, I can't remember now, it's been a blur being here, they announced that youtube.com/podcasts was a new landing page for podcasts. So youtube.com/podcasts, that's live right now. You can go there. Right now, it is top podcasts that are primarily the top podcasts on YouTube.
Yeah.
But longer form, longer term, timeline-wise, us podcasters are waiting to see, okay, YouTube, what else are you going to do with this? Can we connect our RSS feed to this and have people pull it in, a la, say, YouTube Music or
Right.
something along those lines? So there's not a lot of info here just yet.
There's
Up
Twitter.
until this
Yeah.
point, it's kind of been you either record your show live or pre-recorded and put the video over on YouTube,
Right.
or you go the route of audiograms /
Yes.
cover art only and audio playing.
Yes.
And this may provide a third way and possibly a better way, because I've been hesitant to do both those things.
Right.
Right.
So, what are you? Because you're kind of like Colin. You've been audio only for a long, long time.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about all this push towards video because of YouTube, for one?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a
Yeah.
big thing. Is that something you're looking forward you're looking to do for your podcast in the future? Is it going to be like, oh gosh, like now I have to do video? I mean, what are your thoughts on, as an old school, just audio only, like this talk about video?
I'm not scared to do video.
Yeah.
I'd like to do video,
Right.
but as a productivity thing, it's like, okay, do you have the bandwidth to handle doing video?
Right.
And for me, it's probably a maybe.
Right.
For others, it's a no, and I say, then that's your answer. Don't
Yeah.
do it.
Yep.
But maybe you can, and the other piece is if, like, for example, you guys go live every week,
Right.
you've got a consistent release schedule because it's live. I batch process my show and
Right.
record a bunch of them and then push it through the ringer and make the sausage.
But if it's not live, so with like
Right,
Ecamm
exactly.
or whatever,
Yeah.
you can actually record those as an interview show because it has great audio quality. You can capture the video, and it's still batch process because you could
Yes.
line up 3 or 4 of those a day and go. And then with this YouTube functionality and even Twitter, which I want you to touch on,
Yes.
You have an option to share some of that out for those people who do want to see what I don't know what Mitch Todd looks like. I mean, like or not Mitch Todd, but
Tiago Forte.
yeah, what do
Or
I don't
Todd
know,
Henry,
Todd
or-
Henry,
yeah.
yeah. And like, I don't know. It'd be kind of interesting to watch a show where you interview him and like, how's Eric do his interview style? That'd be kind of interesting to watch.
Yeah. And so there's an opportunity there that I'm not hiding from, but I'm figuring out, okay, what's the next, how do I ease into that? Obviously,
Right.
Ecamm, I have Ecamm, I
Right.
can do it.
Right.
So it's a matter of just kind of working out the workflow, figuring that out. And I do think that visual clips, talking head clips, are better than audiograms if I wanted to chop it up into social, shareable chunks.
Absolutely.
Gotcha. So Twitter.
So Twitter yesterday, was this yesterday? It was yesterday. They announced that they are integrating podcasts into Twitter Spaces. So again, not a lot of info. A lot of people have been asking the right questions about it since the press release.
Yes.
There are a couple of different I'm looking at the comments, sorry. There are a couple of different great questions that I've seen on Twitter about this. So what it is it's going to be in Spaces. It's going to be a place for recorded as well as live spaces to be found, as well as podcasts. And from what we can glean as far as what they've said, is that the content that you're already interacting with on Twitter will then feed into the recommendations and the algorithm as to what they show you podcast-wise there. Again, we don't know if you can connect an RSS feed there or subscribe, but it is kind of a, hey, swipe and browse kind of a thing so far. And that, anything at this point for podcasters that aids in discoverability is a bonus, and this may be another great engine for that.
And we went to a session about using Twitter to promote. So
Yeah.
that-
Yes.
That was really interesting. I saw a little bit of it at the end. So.
I love that though, because we all remember the boom of social audio in
Yes.
2020, and we know a lot of people that went all in
Yes.
on social
And
audio.
some of them are still going. We
And
have
so- yeah,
we
they're
have a
still
friend,
going.
Ramon Ray, he has like a huge one he does. I think it's every morning. They're still doing
oh my
it.
God. Yeah,
So
it's out there, right?
Yeah.
And so, but there's been a lot of questions that are like, okay, well, now what? Now what? So this is a good use for that established platform technology, having this to be a place for your podcast as well.
Yeah, so if you have a decent Twitter following or presence or interactivity,
Right.
you may see a push or a lift of recommendation for your show or shows in there. They're going to group them by the standard, topics: news, sports, entertainment, etc. But that doesn't mean that if you're not in those niches with your show, you won't show up.
Right.
But again, remains to be seen yet. It broke yesterday. So
Yeah, very, very, just
And
kind of
there's
like,
a-
oh my gosh, news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of indie podcasts, as we've met and seen this week, right, that do not necessarily fit in a need. But if it's recommended based on your Twitter following,
Yeah, that's
then
cool.
you're going to get discovered by people that are interested in whatever it is that you're into.
Right.
Yeah.
So before we wrap everything up, and I see that WDW Radio says, oh my gosh, is that the Great Street
The
Coffee?
Great Stuff.
If they're watching, if Lauren is around, I'd love to get her to shout out, because she's had a new podcast that I want to give her a shout out to if she wants to come on. If you can hear us, Lauren, but who knows if she's watching or not. But anyway, so there's Deb Mitchell. Hey, Deb. Good to see you. Yeah, the whole set's here.
The whole set is
The whole
here.
set. You could, go get your card punched. One of the things that I want people to do, Eric, and you can jump in and tell me if you want to, do any other announcements, but, where can people find you, and like how often are you releasing, and, what's coming up for Beyond the To-Do List? You have some And I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about dynamic ads any, because that's a kind of a new thing for you and what that means for podcasters.
Sure.
So-
Well, and that I think is been a big topic. A lot of podcasters are hesitant when it comes to
Right.
dynamic ads because it's the devil to them.
Right.
And I'm saying I'm going to say this. I just went all in on
Right.
dynamic ads because I can serve ads in my entire back catalog of 10 years of podcasting.
Right.
And so because I can look at my stats and I can see that people are still
And
downloading.
you've been consistent. That's
to
the
those.
thing. Like,
Yeah.
you
Yes.
haven't missed one.
Yeah. So it's a weekly show, weekly release.
Right.
That's my consistency. That's my rhythm. What else did you ask?
But what your thoughts are dynamic ads?
Yeah.
Because, like,
I mean, I just think that allows you to place ads in the back catalog and turn them off if you want to. You can completely turn them off. If you don't want to have any, you can just have none, which is kind of nice.
You talked to me, off camera about, like, and we talked about earlier, like, if you're a new podcaster, what you should do, and you mentioned, like, even if you're not running dynamic ads, you should do something. So talk about,
Yeah, all along so I would say that as you're going through and you're producing your show, that every time you have a workflow, that you take note of the 1 or 2 or 3 places even that are good conversational breaks or pivot points in your show to naturally insert something, and then you can do host read ads as
Right.
dynamic insert. It doesn't have to be programmatic, which means somebody else read it and is inserting it and so on. And so it can still be you. And so then even if podcasting advertising is not part of your monetization strategy, but podcasting is part of your overall business strategy, so you've got an event coming up.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Eric Fisher. Come to my event. We've got it's coming up, da-da-da-da-da.
Right.
And then those aren't in there for the perpetuity of that episode forever and ever, amen.
Right. You can
It's
change
just
them.
for that month, week, whatever, in the run-up to the event.
And I think Pat Flynn does that now with all his,
does.
like, his call to actions. He changed his call to action, and he does it for his entire back catalog.
Exactly.
So the point that I was trying to push Eric to, and he made, was that
Evergreen.
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 But that you have that process, even if you're like, I'll never do dynamic ads, I'll never get a sponsor, to make those things. And if you're consistent after 10 years, then you can go back. I mean, you
don't even have to wait
right,
that long.
But you know what I mean? It's like there's a spot for.
Yeah.
You're thinking ahead. You're being proactive.
Because
and
if
thinking
you're
ahead.
ready, I mean,
Right.
the thing is that all you need to do is be ready whenever the opportunity is right.
Right.
So,
Right.
Yeah.
And
So-
you build that from the beginning. You build
Exactly.
those systems and practices at the very beginning with the intention to do
Right.
ads or whatever
Exactly.
you want to do.
Exactly.
So we have, I think, exhausted our time with Eric, because I'm hungry and he's hungry, and we want to go get some food
Yes.
here in Dallas. But there's my food reference. So your card is complete. But Eric, I want to let people know, like, what's coming up for you, where you want the people to send them to find your show,
Yeah.
all your stuff. So talk about that.
Go over to beyondthetodolist.com. That's where you can find all the latest episodes. I highlighted Tiago Forte, Rachel Tellers. Upcoming in the next 2 weeks is John Acuff as well as Todd Henry. We already mentioned them.
Right.
Those are going to be great. I've already recorded them. I know they're great. The guest is great. I'm good. And then, just jump on in, listen, take a listen. You will find any kind of productivity hang up or topic you're looking for. I've probably got a show about it. And if I don't, you let me know. Go to twitter.com/Eric with a K, the letter J, Fisher. Tweet me. Let me know, hey, you don't have an episode on this. I'll make one for you.
Yeah.
For you.
And
well,
I'll-
I think you're great.
Thank you.
I think you're great.
I think you're great too.
He's okay.
And Jeff, maybe.
Jeff's all right.
So, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for Ecamm for letting us do this show, being able to be in this booth. If you want to find out more about Ecamm and the incredible stuff that they can do, make sure you go to socialmedianewslive.com/Ecamm. That's ECAMM. And don't forget about their Flow podcast that is out, that is amazing. And also the upcoming Leap into Podcasting, which Eric's going to be one of the speakers. Grace is going to be one of the speakers. I may be there just to press buttons. I don't know. I may talk a little bit. But make sure you guys go. They have an incredible community on Facebook. They answer questions. You can actually talk in Facebook to Doc Rock. He'll help you do your setup. They're just amazing people there. I wanted to give a big shout out to the Paul Duncan, who is actually in there moderating right now. He's amazing as
And
well.
dropping the
Yes,
links.
he's doing
Oh,
links.
He's doing so
Look at that,
amazing.
beyondthetodolist.com.
Keeping up with everything.
Yeah, so thank you, Paul, for doing that. You're amazing. But somebody else is amazing. is the amazing Grace. So Grace,
The Grace Stuffy,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Tell them where they can find you.
Well, you can find me here every week with Jeff, 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. I did that backwards, I know. And
So-
you can also find us on Volley. What is our URL for our space?
It is socialmedianewslive.com/chat. You'll join in there. You'll be able to talk to Grace and I asynchronously, so there's not really much pressure. You don't even have to be live on camera. You can come in and just leave a message or an audio message or a text, and we will respond to you. We have a lot of fun in there. Big shout out to the people in there. Like I know Gary Stockton's in there, a bunch of other folks. Brian Farrell's in there. So we have a great community over on Volley. But yeah, go check out Grace. She's there. She has to do it now. It's her job.
It's my job
So,
now.
yeah.
It's my job
Yeah.
now. So come over to Volley. But it is honestly a great way to talk to us directly.
Yeah. So with that, we thank you guys for watching. Thank you to Ecamm. I'm trying to get Doc's attention so he'll be ready to turn off the stream when I'm ready. Hey, can you get Doc to get ready? Yeah. So, but I thank you guys. Thank you to Ecamm for letting us go live here. Well, thank you guys. Thank you for everybody watching in the show. Thank you, Lowell, for watching as well. And we will see you guys next time. Appreciate you. Bye, everybody.